Here is a scene that plays out in relationships everywhere. Every day, two people are arguing. Each one believes they are right. Each one can articulate coherent, logical reasons for their position. Each one experiences the other's refusal to concede as incomprehensible stubbornness or, depending on the stakes, deliberate cruelty. The argument continues until someone capitulates, storms out, or changes the subject. Nothing is resolved. The same argument happens again next month. And the month after. William James watched this pattern in human affairs, political, intellectual, interpersonal, and diagnosed the problem with characteristic precision. The problem, he said, is not that people disagree. Disagreement is healthy and inevitable. The problem is the assumption that every disagreement must have a winner, that there exists, somewhere, the one correct view that the more rational or more honest or more intelligent party has already grasped, and that the purpose of the argument is to force the other person to acknowledge it. James's pragmatism offers something fundamentally different. Instead of asking who is right, it asks what position, if acted upon, would produce the best outcomes. This sounds simple, but following it honestly transforms how you approach every conflict. Consider how James himself handled intellectual disagreement, which was his daily professional reality. When confronted with opposing philosophical positions, his first move was not to attack the opposing view but to ask, what difference does it make? If this view were true, how would things be different? What would it lead us to do differently? What experiences would it make more intelligible and which would it obscure? This method, testing ideas by their practical consequences, is what pragmatism means at its core. Applied to relationships, this means, when you are in conflict with someone, instead of asking who is right, ask if we each acted on our position, what would happen? What needs are each of us trying to meet? What outcomes would each approach produce? Which approach, or what combination, would actually produce the relationship we both want? The shift from who wins the argument to what actually works is transformative. But James's contribution to relationship wisdom goes deeper than conflict resolution. His radical empiricism, his insistence on taking experience seriously on its own terms, without forcing it into preformed categories, has profound implications for how we understand other people. James believed that one of the fundamental errors of ordinary social life is treating other people as instances of types rather than as irreducibly individual experiences. We categorize people by personality type, by social group, by past behavior, and then relate to the category rather than the person. This is efficient. It is also deeply alienating. The person across from you is having an experience that you have no direct access to. Your model of who they are is always a construction, built from past interactions, from general knowledge about people, from your own projections and assumptions. James's radical empiricism would have you treat every interaction as new data, an opportunity to test and revise your model, to be surprised, to discover that the person is different from how you have categorized them. This requires a kind of epistemic humility that does not come naturally. Our social categories are useful. They allow us to navigate complex environments efficiently. But James would insist, do not mistake the map for the territory. The category is a tool. The person is real. And the person will always exceed the category if you are paying attention. James also understood something important about the role of sympathy in human knowledge. He believed that genuine understanding of another person requires something more than intellectual analysis. It requires a kind of imaginative participation, an attempt to inhabit their experience, to feel the world from their position, to take seriously their point of view as a genuine engagement with reality rather than as error or distortion. This is what we now call empathy. James saw it as a cognitive tool, not just an emotional one. The person who can genuinely inhabit another's perspective knows more about that person, and about reality, than the person who merely analyzes from the outside. For practical relationship wisdom, James's pragmatism suggests several principles. Prioritize outcomes over positions. Let go of the need to win the argument and focus on what arrangement would actually work. Be genuinely curious about the other person's experience. Treat their perspective as data about reality, not just as opinion to be refuted. Test your relationship theories empirically. Instead of assuming you know how someone will respond, try something different and see what actually happens. And hold your models of other people lightly. The person you love is always more complex, more surprising, and more interesting than any story you can tell about them. Relationships are, in James's framework, the most important laboratory we have for testing our theories about what matters and what works. Subscribe to the Psychology of William James and keep refining your understanding of the most essential experiments in your life.